Dear students, today we are going to discuss about one of the very significant texts which is in your syllabus, that is slavery in the civilized British government under the cloak of Brahmanism, originally published as Gulam Giri, JYOTI RAO PHULE. In this I have covered introduction and these initial text and everything I have covered. Now we are coming to chapter 1, and if you remember I have given you these short points also. So the portion which you are able to see as a colored and in points, these are the short points, and the bullet points we have already done. But if you will like, later on I'll upload all those videos which will help you to go in detail. So there are two ways I am following. One is a shorter way to make you understand, a quick revision for the exam, and the longer way. Both the way you can do. I will upload all the videos. Earlier also, if you see, there are a number of videos related to this text. So now I am coming to part 1. It will be simple reading because the reading itself is explanatory, and you can actually let me just make it a little, I think it's okay. So let's come to chapter 1, part 1. As we all know, this is in the form of question answer. So chapter 1 is Brahma Aryalok. Let me take this red color. Right. So Brahma origin Saraswati, the Iranian or the Aryan. Dondiba is asking questions. The kind-hearted British, French and other governments in Europe collectively abolished slavery in their empire, and thus transgressed the fiats of Brahmadeva. For it is said in Manusmriti that Brahmadeva created the Brahmin from his mouth and the Shudras from his feet and originated them to serve the Brahmin eternally. So the origin of this humans through the Brahma. So according to Manusmriti, Brahma created all the human beings, and from the mouth of the Brahma, Brahmins are created, and from the feet of Brahma, Shudras are created. JYOTI RAO, you say that the British and the other European government banned slavery in their respective kingdom and thus transgressed the fiat of Brahmadeva. Many races like English live upon the surface of this earth, from which part of the Brahmadeva's body these races created according to Manusmriti. Dondiba. To this all the learned and unlearned Brahmins answer in one voice, and there is no reference to the English and other people races in Manusmriti, they being based and vicious. JYOTI RAO, do you then think that there are no base and vicious Brahmins here? Dondiba, a careful scrutiny would reveal that more base and vicious people are found among the Brahmins than among all other people. JYOTI RAO, how could a reference to such base and vicious Brahmins be found in Manusmriti? Dondiba, which only proves that the theory regarding the creation of the Brahmin and the other forms and differentiate limbs of the Brahma's body must be wrong, as it does not apply to all men. JYOTI RAO, that is why the learned English authors came to realize the baseless nature of the theory propounded by Brahmin authors in their spurious religious tracts, and thus they banned slavery. If Brahma were the source of from whom all human beings were created, then the English would not have banned the practice of slavery. The theory propounded by Manu regarding the origin and creation of the four varnas seems to totally wrong when judged by the laws of the natural operations law of nature. Dondiba, may I know how? Brahma Aryalok. JYOTI RAO, the Brahmins were created from the mouth of Brahma according to Manu. Then why is a Manu silent about the creation of the original mother of the Brahmins, from which the limb of the Brahmas Brahma were created. So now the question is that if Brahmins are being created by Brahma, then who is the original mother? Because every man, every person, human is being born out of mother's womb. So then the question is that where is the original mother, or the mortal mother, the mother who is giving birth to the child? Dondiba. As per the theory of these learned Brahmins, she might have been based on vicious, so let us rank her along with Malecha, Muslims or foreigners for the time being. JYOTI RAO. The Brahmin declare proudly that they are the gods on this earth, and they are the preeminent Varna among all the four Varnas. Their original mother must have been a Brahmin lady. How dare you rank her with the Malicha? How would she stand the stench of wine and beef? You utter a veritably hearsay, Dhondiba. So then JYOTI RAO says that if the Brahmins are being born out of Brahmas, the mouth of the Brahma, then the original mother, the mortal mother who is giving birth from the womb, so then where would we place her? Is she coming from Malicha, or that is the lower community? Dhondiba. Sir, if you have declared openly in public meeting that the original ancestor of Brahmins, the venerable Rishi, were in the habits of killing cows and enjoy delicacies prepared from the beef on the occasion of the death anniversaries, how then can you say that the original mother would not relish beef? It would be distasteful for her to eat beef. Please wish a long life for the British Raj here. You will then find that most of the so-called devout Brahmins will favor the English rulers, devour the leftover of the beef preparation and the tables, not giving a remote chance to butlers to partake them. Most Mahar butlers are already grumbling, albeit secretly, against the Brahmins, beef eaters. Manu himself has preferred to remain silent about the original creation of the original mother of the Brahmins. You should blame Manu squarely for it. Why then do you blame me for uttering a hearsay? Please continue. JYOTI RAO. As you please, sir. Now, let me, Dondiba, if the Brahmins were created from the mouth of the Brahma, it becomes the womb of Brahmins. It must be subject to the physical law of menstruation. So did Brahma segregated himself from the days every month. Did he, like Lingayat women, apply ashes and being thus absolved from the pollution carry on the daily routine? What Manu say on this? So, for the birth, if any birth is being given, then it is given through the woman. And there are two things which are required. One is womb and menstruation. So if Brahma is giving birth to Brahmins from the mouth, then his mouth must be menstruating. And menstruation is considered to be impure blood. So how could, impure blood can produce a pure community like Brahmins? Dhondiba. No, answer is the origin creator of the Brahmin. How can he approve of the practice of the Lingayat woman? Because the Brahmin abhor the Lingayat, as their women folk do not observe the regulation of monthly segregation of 16 days in a month. Who then was looking after the domestic chores in his household? What else has Manu to say on this? JYOTI RAO. Just reflect little, Dhondiba. If the four Varna were created from the mouth, hand, thighs and feet respectively of the Brahma, then these four limbs may be termed as the respective vagina. Thus, Brahma would have to be segregated for 16 days in a month. Who then was looking after the domestic core in this household? What Manu says on this? Generally, in Indian society, it is one of the practices being practiced in households that when a woman is menstruating, she is not being allowed to touch any chore work, the household work. She is being not allowed to enter in the kitchen, and she cannot perform all the domestic works because it is considered to be impure. So this is the question JYOTI RAO is asking, that if the woman, if the woman is being excluded from the household work on the pretext of her menstruation time period and impurity, the notion, then who else would be doing the household work? Dodiba, unfortunately, nothing. JYOTI RAO. If the Brahmin was conceived in the mouth of the Brahma, where did the fetus grow? In which limb of the Brahmin did? Brahma Aryalok. For 9 months. Does Manu say anything about that? JYOTI RAO. Does Manu say anything about how Brahma fed the Brahmin infant? Did he breastfeed or bottle feed? So, these are all the little questions associated with the birth of the child and care of the child. So, when the moment a child is being born, the breastfeed is required or bottle feed is required to survival of the child, infant. And when the child is being born, before the birth, the child is in the womb, and that is in the uterus. So, if the Brahma is giving birth from the mouth, then where is the uterus? Does Brahma having uterus in his mouth? These are the questions being asked by Jyotiba. Well, it is known that Savitri was Brahma's wife. Why then did he take upon himself the cumbrous responsibility of carrying the fetus in his mouth for 9 months and also giving birth to it and bringing it up subsequently? It appears very strange indeed. So then the next question is, because Brahma's wife is Savitri and women are biologically being assigned as a task for giving birth. So the question is, if Savitri is there, she would have given birth to children. Why Brahma himself has taken the responsibility? Being a man, how could he give birth from the mouth, arms, thighs and foot? So Dondiba, 3 of his 4 mouths were free from his encumbrance. How then did the important Brahma like such childish game to make believe? JYOTI RAO, if we call him important, then how did he seduce his own daughter Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom? That is why he was known as Brahma, the daughter seducer. Because of this wild deed, he is not worshipped by anywhere. So, this saying is this practice is very prevalent, that Brahma's temples we don't find many temple of Brahma, and we do not find Brahma is generally worshipped, because there is one famous temple in Pushkar. Apart from that, there are not many temples related to Brahma. So that is also one of the reasons that he is known as a daughter seducer, and that might be the reason that he is not being worshipped commonly. Dondiba, if Brahma indeed had 4 mouths, then he ought to have 8 breasts, 4 navels, 4 urethras and 4 anus. But nothing authentic is mentioned anywhere about this. Is it also written in the Brahma Purana scripture that through Shesha Shreya Vishnu who lies recumbent on the serpent Shesha and had Lakshmi as his consort, how did he create this 4-mouthed child Brahma for his navel? Shesha Shreya Vishnu also land in the same quandary as Brahma. JYOTI RAO, it can be started after due deliberation that the Brahmins were the native of Iran or Persia, which is beyond the Arabian Sea. Many English authors have put forth the theory in the book and also authenticated in that the Brahmins were then called Iranians or Aryans. Hordes of these marauding Aryan invaded many kingdoms in India many times and created chaos and confusion in these kingdoms. Later on, Brahma succeeded Vamana as their chieftain. He was very obdurate. He conquered our ancestors here and enslaved them, turned them into a vassal. He promulgated many iniquitous regulations as to create a permanent rift between the Aryan and the conquered natives. After Brahma's death, the Aryan came to be known as Brahmins, superseding their old name Aryans. After, like Manu, who succeeded Brahma later on, were anxious to maintain the sanctity of many imaginary stories about the Brahma, investigating them within a divine will and grace and view to impressing the pliable mind of the conquered people. The fiction about Shesha Shreya is of a piece and such composition in due course. The Brahmin collect these imagery stories in book form. The effeminate Narada Muni tried to impress sanctity of these spurious books on the minds of gullible slaves natives, resulting in further glorification of Brahma. To trace the origin of the Shai, as in the case of Brahma, would be more waste of time. The Brahmin authors have made him spine and have created him with having created his child with four mouths, Brahma for his navel. To kick a person when he is down to prove one's mastery is cruel, not a worthy act. The second chapter is Matsya and Shankasur. Doniba. How many hordes of the Aryans may have come to India before the time of Vaman? JYOTI RAO. Many hordes of the Aryans came to India in the ship by the sea. Dondiva. Did the first horde come in a worship? JYOTI RAO. There are no worship at the time, so came in a small boats. These canoes moved swiftly over the sea like fish. That is why the captain of the whole crew may have come to call as Matsya. Dondiba. Then how have the Brahmin historians written in their spurious book like Bhagavad that the said captain was born of fish? A little reflection will convince you and how different man and fish are in their physical structure of food, sleep and sex habit and procreation, etc. Similarly, they are totally different from each other in respect of their brain, heart, lungs and intestine, wombs and genitals. Men live on a land. Here is easily drowned in water and dies subsequently. The fish is an aquatic species. It dies immediately if taken out of water. Woman gives birth to usually one child at a time, but the female fish lay eggs which are hatched in due course of time. It was not possible for female fish to take the fertile egg out of the sea and hatch it subsequently, for she could not subsist outside the water. Supposing she hatched the egg in water, how can the young fish resembling a human child survive in water? Supposing she hatched the egg in water, how can the young fish resembling a human child survive in water? Someone may put forth a novel theory that some expert human diver may have dived into the sea, identified the fertile egg containing the fish embryo resembling a human embryo, and brought it safely on land. Granted it was so, what clever man must have brought out a human body out of fertile fish egg? There are many famous medical doctors in Europe and America these days who doubt if any one of these experts doctors would vouchsafe to bring forth a living fish out of the fertile fish egg. What clever immortal fish may have informed the expert human diver of the presence of the said fertile egg at the bottom of the sea? And how could the human diver understand the language of the fish messenger? Many such doubts and questions remain unanswered even after pursuing the spurious books of the Brahmins. So we shall be justified in concluding that some cunning Brahmin may have interpolated these fictions in their ancient scripture at a later, but the better to serve their interest. Dondiba. Where did the captain of the Matsya horde land along with his crew? JYOTI RAO. He came to India across the western Arabian Sea and disembarked at a port on the western coast. What did he do on disembarking? He killed a chieftain, Kshatrapa, a Shankarsur by name, and usurped his kingdom. It was under the control of the Aryan until the death of the Matsya captain. When Matsya died, the followers of the subject of Shankarsur launched a terrific attack on the Matsya hordes. Dondiba. What was the result? The Matsya hordes was vanquished and took to their heels. They then hid themselves in thick on the mountainside to save themselves from the pursuing various followers of the Shankasur. Just then another Arya horde from land, Iran, came in boast over the western sea and landed at the said port. These boast Kachavas were slightly bigger than canoes and hence used to move over the waters like tortoise. Hence the captain of the hordes was nicknamed as Kacha. So this second chapter is the story of how the Matsya king is born, and there are scientific questions are being imposed that how could a fish can give birth to a human child, because human and fish, they live in a different environment. Human is not aquatic animal, and a fish is not a land creature. So these are the practical questions are being asked based on the science. This is what Jyoti Rao is trying to bring scientific perspective behind these old stories, which are related to the origin of the Kachava king and all the Avtaras. So Kacha, gods on earth or lords of the earth, Kshatriya Dvija king, Kashyapa, mountain on the back of the Kacha. Dondiba. A careful consideration will reveal to us that there are some points of difference between fish and tortoise, but there are many similarities between them regarding their aquatic nature, laying their eggs in water and subsequently hatching them also. It is written in the book like the Bhagavad that Kacha was born of a tortoise. We may not waste our precious time in pursuing the line of thinking because it resembles the theory regarding the fish, their eggs, and which has been exploded earlier. So I would like to know how Kacha did a disembarking at the said port. Jyoti Rao. Kacha drove away from these Kshatriya who had besieged the hordes of Matsya. He deliberated own people, called himself God on earth or king of that region, and revealed it. Kacha, gods on the earth or lords of the earth. Dondiba. Where did the Kshatriya drive away by Kacha go? They were terrified by the news of the arrival of the second horde of the Aryan from Iran, and shouting, the Dvija have come, the Dvija have come. They crossed the mountain and followed the chieftains Kashyap. The Kacha descendants and mountain, he had a mountain at his back and continued to harry Kshatriyas in Kashyapa king as a reinforcement from the Iran kept on assisting him. Kashyapa tried his level best to recapture the mountain from the Kacha, but the Kacha foiled all the attempts of Kashyapa, who could not retain control of the mountain, which was his back, till his death. Nor did he retreat a single step from battlefield. Now we come to the fourth. These are the stories, which are associated with the origin of the gods and the stories behind their birth. So here we find that most of the time Dondiba is asking questions and Jyoti Rao is trying to give answers on the basis of scientific facts. If any theory associated with the birth and which seems to be unscientific, the effort is to find the scientific answer related to that. So now we come to the four: Narsimha, Hiranyakashyapa, Prahlad, Vipra, Virochan, Bali, Vaman. Dondiba, who succeeded Varaha as a chieftain of the Dvija. Narsimha, Dondiba. How was he by temperament? Jyoti Rao. Narsimha was greedy, double-dealing, treacherous, cunning, dangerous, cruel and heartless. He was strongly built. Dondiba, what did he do? What did he achieve? Jyoti Rao. He began to plot the murder of Hiranyakashyap. He was convinced that unless Hiranyakashyap was murdered, he would not be able to obtain his kingdom. In order to accomplish his wicked desire, he tried to imbibe upon the impersonable mind of his prince Prahlad through the instrumentality of Dvija tutor the basic tenets of his own religion. Narsimha, Hiranyakashyap, Prahlad, Varaha, Virochan, Bali. With the result of that, Prahlad totally neglected the ownership of Hara, his family deity. Hiranyakashyapa then tried to persuade Prahlad in various ways to worship his family deity, but not to avail. The Narsimha was secretly brainwashing Prahlad. Narsimha played upon the pliant mind of the minor prince, corrupted it, and persuaded him in devious ways to murder his own father. But the young prince was mostly unwilling to do his bidding. So he disguised himself as a fierce lion, painted his body to bright pigment like the tigers in Muslim tajiyas, flourishing his long, sharp fangs and supporting a long beard. To hide his devilish intention, he wore a fine sari on the top of fleecy Finicking as a gorgeous, respectable lady, entered furtively an apartment of the Hiranyakashipu with Prahlad's help and hid himself behind one of the pillars of the colonnade there. Being thoroughly exhausted after a strenuous day's busy administrative schedule, Hiranyakashipu repaired in evening to his private apartment and had just inclined on his bed for much needed rest. When the wily Narsimha emerged from the shadow of the pillar, adjusted the sari suitable about his waist, attacked suddenly Hiranyakashipu and tore out of his entrail with his trigger claws. Having accomplished his devilish scheme of murdering Hiranyakashipu, Narsimha ran away swiftly to his own country, along with his Dvija followers. When Kshatriya came to know of the ghastly murder of Hiranyakashipu by Narsimha through deceit and treachery, they began to designate Dvija, not the Vipriyas. From that may have been called Vipras. The Kshatriya began to call Narsimha a Narya Simha, that is a lioness, a pejorative term. Later, some sons of Hiranyakashipu tried hard to avenge the murder of their father by Narsimha, but despairing to secure Hiranyakashipu's kingdom for himself, he, Narsimha, breathed his last, heartbroken. Dondiba. The Vipra Brahmin historians, many fictions such as revealed himself was born out of the pillar after the lapse of the decent interval in order to protect his reputation from the attack of his opponents and of the disorderly murder of Hiranyakashipu. JYOTI RAO. This indeed was so. If we accept the fiction of this birth and pillar, somebody must have cut his umbilical cord and nourished him with life-sustaining milk. He must have been brought up by a wet nurse. Whichever hypothesis we accept runs counter to the operations of the laws of nature. The gossip-mongering Vipra Brahmin authors he endowed Narsimha, who emerged fully formed out of the pillar with a luxuriant beard and moustache, and that was child play for him to murder Hiranyakashipu with his tiger claws. Alas, alas, how despicable it was for incarnation of the primordial Adi Narayan to murder King Hiranyakashipu, who was trying to imbibe the principles of true religion on impersonable mind of his son Prahlad. He was only doing his paternal duty to his son. Even an ignorant person will not stoop to commit such infamy. On revealing himself from the pillar as a divine incarnation to Hiranyakashipu, he would have convinced him of his divine origin, and being Adi Narayana should have tried to reconcile father and son unto each other. Instead of him, he murdered him in a cold blood. This is passing stranger. If he could not persuade Hiranyakashipu in his way, how then can be credited with the ability to be bestowed of the human intelligence? This act alone in proof positive that Narsimha did not have intelligence of a mean third-rate concubine mistress in Pune, who had cast the spell of her fatal fascination on a certain scholar in Pune. Scholars who had temerity to call himself as an omniscient god had Brihaspati and had completely enslaved him. Currently, many American and European missionaries have proselytized, converted many young Indians to Christianity, but they have not demoned themselves by murdering the father of any one of these converts. Dondiba. Did the Vipra Brahmins not try to usurp the kingdom of Prahlad after his ignominious humiliation of Narsimha? JYOTI RAO. The Vipra made many futile attempts to usurp Prahlad's king, but not to avail. The Prahlad was wise, and their devilish mechanization, he did not trust them at all. He took all others into his confidence, administered his kingdom, and finally breathed his last. He was succeeded by his son Virochan, who has administered his kingdom equally justified and further fortified. He passed away soon. Virochana was succeeded by Bali, who was valiant warrior. He freed his many satrapa from desperation of the terrorist and lawless elements and organize his kingdom into a well-knit structure, then begin to extend 40s frontiers of his kingdom. Vamana, who then was leader of the Vipra, did not fancy himself here, organized a huge army secretly, approached to the border of the Bali kingdom with the intentions conquering for himself. Vama was a very greedy, enterprising and haughty of the temperature. So now till 4th chapter we have done, and the next is Baliraja. In this way we will be moving up to the 10th chapter. So 5 is Baliraja, Jyotiba, Maratha, Khandoba, Malhari, Martand, Mahashubnaye and Bhairoba, Baradi. Then we will come to chapter number 6. In this way we will be moving ahead. So we end this video up to here only, and the next video is from chapter the next video will be from chapter 5. So you just come visit again, because my concern is to, even if we are reading simply, it gives us a first hand understanding that what is being written. Interpretations are many, you could do it yourself, but that's what I could say. For every single fact, the scientific approach is being applied, whether this is scientifically proved or not. That's the basic exercise JYOTI RAO PHULE is doing in this book, Gulam Giri. So I end up here. God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving your time.